I wouldn't have known that there was a part of me that was just like, let's just sit back and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So what would you have to do to let go of like the set high expectations? I have to show up in a certain way. Like, what would you have to do to put like the minimal amount of like a crutch in place to set yourself up for that success tonight? To say,
I'm
like,
in the process of doing that, and that is for me to have a beginning kind of
mm-hmm,
statement.
mm-hmm,
I'm starting here.
mm-hmm,
And then I thought all I really need are 3 bullets, just
mm-hmm,
3 points.
mm-hmm,
Okay. And then kind of a, you know, where I got a little, uh, uh, I wasn't clear about, okay, so you suggested that the call kind of really focus on their pain points. Like, what's the pain
mm-hmm,
point? Not recognizing that you are wired this way, right?
mm-hmm,
And so when I started writing that, I realized, oh, well, there's my story, right? What happened to me before I
mm-hmm.
realized that I was wired in this way?
Yeah.
How did I get in my own way? How did I derail my good intentions and my desires?
Mm-hmm.
And so there'll be, in other words, there'll be both. There'll be both. This is
Yep.
what my lack of awareness of who I am caused me. Do you see yourself in this?
Yeah.
More than me pointing out. And I do have, I keep, I have this running conversation, this running like loop of, do you know who Mary Morrissey is?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard of her.
Yeah. Well, she does these impeccable deliveries, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's just impeccable when she
Mm-hmm.
delivers. And I don't listen to a lot of spiels from coaches or teachers,
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of maybe check in, but hers are loving and captivating and,
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, she just like kind of reaching out and massaging
Mm-hmm.
everyone's heart, And so it's like, I hadn't thought that until I started writing this morning. And then I realized, oh, that was the image that was coming through,
Ah,
was this, you know,
like you have to be like
there's the
Mary
image of
Morrissey,
perfection that I have
right?
to just put
Side. Yeah.
aside. Right,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right.
Would you actually start with your story and then transition into your bullet points?
Well, I thought I would start with the conversation. Why are we having this conversation right now?
Uh-huh.
And then yes, my story's right up front. My
What if you
story's,
did your story first?
Yeah, your story
Because
first.
it sounds like your story is an illustration of why we're having the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And that's how, honestly, when I really look at who is like a great teacher, they hook people with stories, right? Like
yes,
Miguel didn't do it with personal stories, but he did it
no,
with, whatever, Tezcatlipoca and,
yeah.
I studied with Sarita and those kind of stories. So like, I think the power would come from you, like opening up in that really vulnerable, um, yet like I'm telling this to you from a place
And
of
it
awareness.
would also be it would also just set me energetically in the right.
Uh-huh. Exactly. It would have a comfort. So for your story, I would say, like, whenever I tell a story, I usually like look at it and ask myself, like, what are the main points I want to make in the story? So my story doesn't become like a rambly kind of thing. Like, I actually know that these are the main points I'm making in the story, and then I'm going to be using my life to illustrate
Yes.
that. So it's almost like if you had a couple bullet points of like, you know, here's what we're doing tonight. You have your 5 bullet points that you advertise the class about, right? You could revisit that if you wanted to set up a context and then say, but first I want to tell you about myself and my story. And then you can go back into the hitting some of the bullet points you have for the class.
I like that flow a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that flow a lot. And then, of course, what I asked you for specifically was sales language.
Uh-huh.
That was the piece that caused me initial anxiety. Is that when I'm when I've done my other calls, I'm not really, occasionally I'll be selling a trip or
Mm-hmm.
but I'm usually talking to people that, either know the work or have some kind of reference to me. So now I'm selling something really new to me,
Yeah.
and how to frame that language.
Yeah. I think the first thing Diamira actually brought this up a few weeks ago is like to again like dump out what we think about sales on calls like this and to really like come from your heart of like the energetic wave right now is to address this. And I'm doing this first and foremost because like you're gaining all this awareness for yourself and now you're so excited to be also using this to be of service to the people in your tribe because you're hearing so many people talk about being an empath and the struggles they're having.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you really want to give the group the space to kind of continue this kind of conversation. And so here's what you could say what the promises of the program, not in those words, but saying like here's what we're going to be working on getting done, this is what you're going to walk away with kind of thing, and here's some of the pieces we're going to cover, and here's what's included. And it just like
I don't even know that. I don't even know that yet.
Yes, you do.
Well, I know that it's 5 modules, but I don't really.
So you're having 5 group calls, right? 5 or 6 group calls, right? So what's included? And that you said they're going to be weekly.
Yes.
And you said that people could email you in between calls, correct?
Yes.
And there's like no Facebook group, right? And there's no one-on-one coaching. So what's included is you get you're doing a 6-week class with a weekly call. The calls are going to be an hour and a half.
And I was going to do, that's right, I was going to do the Q&A call in the middle.
Right.
5 modules with 1 Q&A call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's simple. That's what they get. It's a 6-week program. It's you're going to go, and if you know the topics to the modules yet, you can share that. And if not, if you just know the big picture results, then share that, because we talked about having those.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about it, when I talked about the Master Heart, I didn't really know what, I knew like the energy behind what I was offering you and kind of here's what we're going to be looking at working on. And I had an idea, like I didn't even really have the structure totally worked out. I said I was kind of talking to each person to figure that out. So there's definitely a model of saying, here's what this is. And it doesn't have to be like completely like buttoned up in terms of this.
And do you, in that space, when I'm saying, here's what you get, do I give a price? Do I give the cost?
Yes.
Ooh.
You figured all this out with me. We had a call for this.
I know, but I thought I was going to have it like in an email or something, like, and you get all of this for only,
Yeah, don't use that voice.
Don't say that.
Do not do that. Yeah, that's where you're going to take a really deep breath.
You don't think that's really
don't do the sales. Don't do the salesy thing. You're going to take a really deep breath, right? And you're saying, this is what I'm offering. And you're going to take a deep breath and you're going to say, and your investment for this is,
investment. That's the word. That's the word.
Right? What did you say?
Your investment is your investment.
Investment is like $195, you said, or $175, or I can't remember. And you can even say before that, I would even say, because of the pandemic, I'm doing this as a really like reduced offering. And this is my beta test, the first time I'm offering it. And your investment is $195 for the.
And then we're going to do a early enrolling discount, an early enrollment discount.
Right. So are you making it costs $225 and it's actually $195 with a discount?
I think the final price is $175, and so.
So I would say make it $225 and you get $50 discount and you're going to say, if you register by the end of the call, if you register by tomorrow, if you register by Friday, like.
People are standing by to take your call.
I need,
But wait, there's more.
right.
And
We,
if
did you ever,
want
did you ever do that call, Diomira, with Sylvia, where she did like the whisper sales call in your
I
ear?
did it once.
Yeah. I was like, how does that work? I never did it, but
It worked awkwardly.
I bet. I bet. Yeah. But I'm like, someone needs to be whispering into Rita's ear.
Yeah, it wasn't.
actually what I thought, oh, I'll give the class, I'll give the information, and then I'll say, now I'm going to turn it over to Rose, and she's going to describe what's included in the program, your cost, and how you enroll. And I thought about, with all of her energy, all of her fiery energy, she can be like my.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come over and spank you. Let's
Right?
see.
That is not going to work. You can't do that.
It
Rita,
is what?
Pretend when you're doing that, just pretend, because if you put it in anybody else's words, it's going to sound clunky, no matter how good the words are. Just pretend like you're talking to one of us, like a friend or something. And
Yes.
when you switch into that part, just pretend like you're talking to a friend and
Mhm.
just explain the program and be like, yeah, this is the program and this is
Yeah.
I'll just talk to Rose.
just pretend you're talking to Rose. Exactly.
Just tell Rose about the program. That's it.
Yes.
Right. And so I want to just highlight that, like, the first time you make a pitch, like, I remember the first time we did this on webinars, I was like practically hyperventilating. I was like, no one's going to pay this. I sound ridiculous. It's like all those things are going through your head. And that's like part of this, like, leap before you feel ready.
Yeah.
Is like, you have to find a way to make that transition. And maybe that's the first time you do it, it sounds clunky and salesy and it bombs, but then you have that feedback inside of yourself to say, okay, I didn't like doing it that way.
Exactly.
I want to do it. Right.
Yeah, and that's what's different about this time is that I really want to take myself through the experience.
Right. Exactly.
I have more courage than I have fear.
Right.
And this morning when I was writing, and then I went downstairs to make some tea, and I realized while I was waiting for the tea water that if I just tapped in to, it's not so much a sense of urgency, but there is just this, this is important.
Mm-hmm.
This is important for you and me and for us.
Yeah.
Right? Because all this shit is coming down, not just in a haphazard way, not just coincidentally that you're here to witness it.
Yeah.
No. So I realized that my conviction is really in place, right?
Yes. And that's what you want to
So
communicate.
the conviction of the importance of what this is there.
Yeah.
So I know that, and now I have a starting place.
Yeah.
And so.
And that's that's you bringing value to it. That's right. So, today on my yoga class, the teacher said that in Kundalini yoga, that that they believe that whatever way you're breathing is like if you're doing long, slow, deep breaths, then you're able to access that light channel, and your psyche can then actually influence other people's psyches.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And I was like, oh, interesting, because we already kind of know this, but from that place, like she was saying, you're actually like them being of service when you're in that. So I'm like, I would literally like take pauses as you're going through it and just take long, deep breaths, and like, again, have that like embodied energy psyche of like, here, I'm offering this gift to you, and this is something meaningful to me, and it's going to make a difference to you. And I mean, even saying like, this is the first time I've really made a kind of invitation.
I wrote a statement like that about this is the first time. And even I thought, oh, well, I could easily address here my awkwardness, and even saying, and I've been resistant for some time.
Yeah.
And maybe right now I feel a little awkward and nervous because I haven't done this before, but why I'm here and why I will continue to be here is because the sense of importance, the sense of urgency, the sense of now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to hear from Linda and Diomira, because I think they have like a different image and relationship to you, and like what they would be responding to.
Rita, one thing, I'm not sure I would do the early sign up discount, only because it is the first time that you're doing a pitch live, and it just adds another level of complication to it. So I might just be easy on yourself and just say it's $175 and the deadline to sign up is next Wednesday.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
right?
that's good advice.
That's good, Linda.
And just keep it really simple for your first time, because the more moving parts there are when you're doing a pitch, the more tangled up you can get. Like the more opportunities to get tangled up. And so I like to keep them like as straightforward as possible, and just especially when you're doing it the first time, because why give yourself extra stones to stumble over, right? Like,
good coaching, Linda. Thank you.
Yeah, nice advice.
and I also feel like I know I can see that you see the importance of your conviction, but honestly, I think it's beyond important. It's everything. The fact that you're called to offer this is, and the inspiration, the intention around it, the heartfelt connection that you want to make and that you want to help these people make. Like, that's the bomb, girl. That is juicy shit right there.
I got some juicy shit for
Wait,
you.
Because we can feel
You're my
that.
sales girl. Thank you so much. I just delivered the class. Now I'm going to turn this on.
It wouldn't work, right? Though, because it's not my thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're nervous about it, and I get that. But you have the most important piece inside of you, and it's your conviction and your wanting to connect with people. And I don't know if you look at it as healing them. I mean, I know that it's a course, but I have this sense that it's actually a healing process that you're taking them through. And that's the thing. Like, that's the secret sauce, is having that passion and that about it. And I think that's the other reason I would take out the early bird discount thing too. Like, I'm doing this because this is for real. I want you to have this.
That reminds me of in early days, Megan and I used to sit around and we were
We're the real deal.
We are the real deal.
We were trying to figure out, like, how do you articulate to people, like, who you are and what the real benefit is? And the best we could come up with is, like, we're the real
deal.
I hope that you both know that now it's a lot more about energetics than it is about the words that you say. I mean, Rita, you're mesmerizing when you speak, right? Like, there is a power and energy that flows from you when you talk that I feel like, and you're so solid in your content, in your belief system, right? Like, I mean, you've got that shit down, and that comes,
and Linda says,
and it comes through, right? It comes
as a sales
through.
point. And Linda says,
and my friend said that I'm the real fucking deal. So there.
And I got this shit down.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you're more worried than you need to be, because
yeah, of course. Well, I realize
ability to present and to project.
Thank you. I just, when I did the interview with Megan yesterday, and I guess it was, partially because we had technical difficulties, but when I looked at it, I realized I could see my nerves. I could see how I was, trying. Where's that word that really explains this point I want to make, right? It wasn't there yet, right? The ease of the topic in terms of addressing the topic is still formulating. What I'm going to teach is that'll be, class 1 will be, that'll be easy. That'll be, I'll be well prepped for that. But this kind of rewording and reframing and bringing these things in a different way. And Ed asked me about it, something else about it, why I was nervous about it. And I said, well, I'm used to going to real depth, like let's close our eyes and go to the center of the universe. And this, tonight is just really so much about just, I want it, it's light. It's Rita light. Just
that's why it's so important though, like Deamira said, to imagine that you're talking to one person.
A friend, yes.
And a friend, because so you can't think of the word, you just say so that I can't, like, what is the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. It's like this. And you just like, you just as when you were talking to a friend, because because I see that in myself too, that exact same thing. If I use a script, it's terrible.
Yes.
It's like I'm a newsreader. It's awful. I am way better off to just wander around even a little bit than to try to do the script thing. And I would love to be one of those eloquent people like you were mentioning earlier, this other woman. But I mean, a young friend of mine loves to listen to my videos in my Facebook group, but he also teases me that it's a drinking game because he takes a drink every time I say and I'm like, because I say a lot and it's getting better, but it has to like come out or else it sounds awful. It's just boring and who cares?
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. That's very heartfelt and very authentic. I appreciate it.
So Rita, I was going to add that, there's a couple of things. One, that you absolutely can go deep tonight. Just reframe it. You're not going deep into your material or content. You're going deep into touching into the emotion of what you have experienced in your own life and story around this journey of empath, and what you also are touching into that they may be experiencing. So it can be really deep. It's just deep in the emotional feeling and experience that they're having, and you're touching into that. And then so I would personally reframe that. And then the other thing I just wanted to presence, and I know you already mentioned this, but I just feel it's so powerful that you have this fear, because it really suggests that you're on the right, like totally on the right track and totally following it. Like that you're fearful for like the first time in forever suggests to me, yeah, you are on that edge of like that power and like putting in a bid for power and really up-leveling and staying like in deep, authentic power with your own soul and like soul's growth. So I just wanted to reflect that to you.
That's great. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. It's so true. I could hear myself saying that to you or Linda or Megan or anybody, in this position, because that is the truth. That edge really does lend one the energy they need, that leap to make.
Yes.
And I started looking over some of the material of the course I was working on, and I worked on it for like 4 months. And I had many pages and modules, and I looked at it, and of course I'm going to call things from it, but the concept of it or the reason for it or whom I was addressing, I didn't have the conviction. It was like, it was nice sounding, and it was a group of people, of course, that I wanted to gather, and the sharing would have been meaningful. But with everything that we've been through, are going through, with our world, view shattered, there's been a new pathway carved. And I hope that's true for all of you, that however we're reframing or relaunching or rewriting or rethinking, it's now the impetus for that is coming, yes, from an external source, but again, because we've all agreed that we've been here before, right? I mean, in some form, we've been on this edge before. We've been in this kind of destructive cycle before. And so, I ask myself, this is my best response now to what perhaps I couldn't do last time. And so, when all of these outer conditions shifted, and perhaps that's why there's this nervousness, because there is this, I guess urgency is the word that keeps coming.
Yeah.
And I might also invite you to like presence that on the call and speak to that, because I love when people I find when I do it myself, and also when people really speak to the energy of the present moment, it's so powerful.
I know. I actually thought that at one moment. I was writing and I was going, oh my God. And I'm, you know what? That's just going to be shared, because if I say, I'm nervous, I'm going to take some breaths here. You want to breathe with me?
And just what you said right now, I'm like, that was so compelling. Like, I'm like, that's a sales pitch right there.
Exactly. I'm like, I hope she's going to say that on the actual call.
Yeah. Yeah. Or something like that, right? Something like that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much.
I do want to point out that I remember in the early days of dreaming, like going into Friday night, and like that energy would be like coming through you, and right. And it had that quality of, you could call it nervousness, but it was really just like life force wanted its way to find its way through you, and you hadn't quite figured out how to navigate that channel yet. But then the minute the people appeared in front of you, like you already have that like it's like a positive trigger, right? Like you just show up. And I feel like that's another piece that's in your toolkit of, you're going to get on the call and there's going to be people who love you, and maybe there's people who don't know you as well either. But when you have humans in front of you, you respond. And the excitement and energy that came through in dreaming, and I feel like I'm seeing it's a different form or a different vibration, but I'm seeing that same kind of like passion and creativity and inspiration and excitement in you again. And I think that's what people are going to respond to even more so than whatever content.
You said it's all her fault.
It's my fault. I take full responsibility.
I feel like, that nervousness sometimes, Rita, this just came to me, but I feel like the nervousness sometimes is about intention working through you and stirring up this energy and flowing this energy into you. But until the people get in front of you,
right,
it's kind of just swirling around inside of you. But as soon as the people get in front of you, right, like then there's a place for it to
I'm
go.
so familiar with that. I was just, when Megan was describing it, I was thinking, I wonder how many Friday nights there were that I have slept. I thought, what am I going to teach this weekend? And it was all, like that. And I would be half out of body, half in body. I would be like that intent trying to get through, and me going, oh shit, no. And so there is a pathway that has been carved in my nervous system that does know how to move through that. Not been used in a while, and probably just asking that pathway to be available for me is one of the benefits of initiating this course.
Yeah. I'm excited
Thank
for you.
Thank you for your mirrors. Thank you for your mirrors, and thank you for the words and the support.
Oh, I had one more thing that I wanted to offer, if it's helpful. You know how you said you didn't really know what the course was, the program itself was going to be about. So I know we're trained to speak in bullet points, but you're so good, Rita, with speaking to the energy of things and speaking to the imagery. So after you've shared all of the energetics of your story and what they might be experiencing, I feel like instead of going into these strict bullet points, if you don't have them, one thing you could do is just speak to the energy of what they're they're feeling now, and then speak to the energy of what your dream is to help them be instead of that.
Yeah.
And then you speak to that, and then say, and that's what my intention is with this program, is I want to get you, to be feeling like this. And then you just speak to them as they are, that, like that future tense of them that you believe and see them as.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't really need to know the steps you're going to take me through to get there. I'm more excited about getting there.
Yeah. So when you said that, dear Mara, I earlier, when I was kind of dreaming into it, I had that idea that it is just tonight I'm showing up and sharing a space, a state of being that I had to get myself to.
Mm-hmm.
I had how I got myself here, and then to how I want to share, how I want to reach out and have you embrace, you be as convicted and committed to becoming a true, authentic version of who you are as a healer, a leader, a contributor to this planetary shift, to this inner shift first, right? And then to this great transformation. And again, the feeling tone is there. And the part that's left is like what Megan said, when in the personal story, get a few bullet points so that we're not wandering around. So what my learning point is, here it is. My immediate point of learning, the opportunity that I'm giving myself in doing this, is being able to flow between, let me open this channel and share with you the feeling tone and the energy behind this offering and what I have here. And then also the logical track, the track that goes, so we're starting here and we're doing this and it goes like this, right? So I'm challenging myself to have some ease in going back and forth from kind of an expanded channeled state to, now let's make it practical and simple for you kind of state. That's all. Because I think
that's that masculine and feminine, right? You're trying to both like bring forward the emotion and the like core of it, and then just use the masculine to support that.
Yeah.
Right.
And the direct, this is this, and then this is this, followed by this. It's like the formless round cyclical energy, and then there's the direct linear energy. To bring those into balance in a presentation. That's my challenge. And I rise, I accept the challenge.
So is there one person that is coming on the call that you would love to have in the program?
Yes, and I talked to her yesterday she said she was going to be on the call.
So I would just, when you're doing the pitch part, just like talk to her.
Right.
Right. Just like look at her on the screen and just have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Linda?
No. Did I look like I was going to?
No, I thought I heard, maybe it was Diamira. I thought I heard someone start to say something and then I spoke. All right. Well, I have full faith in you.
Thank you.
And your ability to weave, emerge, and show up in the moment, and also bring forward that stream of words and form. Yeah.
And I'll be doing it next Tuesday night as well. There's going to be 2 free calls. Well, actually, where Megan really kind of snuck up on me and swipe to me was, oh yeah, well, you do 2 free calls and then you'll deliver the course starting on May 29th. I said, oh sure, why not? And then it was like, oh, okay, starting May 26th, right? And I'm kind of the ultimate procrastinator with things like this, and I'm looking at my calendar going, oh my God, I committed. I committed.
Don't tell Rita she's offering a program.
I committed to deliver this
Gilroy, that was
in
fucking
May.
brilliant.
You know, my old style would be, yeah, let's do a couple of calls, and then maybe we'll start July 1st. Yeah.
Nope.
Hoodwinked again.
The time is now. The moment is now.
By the Nawal woman.
Mm-hmm.
Beware the Nawal woman. So Max, that was actually a vision I had of you recently. When I've watched you really in the last 2 months emerge the way you've been emerging.
Mm-hmm.
And a story about how Megan, Sly Fox Megan, we saw her true colors when there was a moment in the Miguel group dream when the next female leader, what kind of that position was open, and I was two, and then there was Jenny. It was Bernadette, Rita, Jenny, and we were all in dreaming one weekend, and there was a woman who looked like the shoe-in, we should say. She looked like the prime candidate. And there was, the group that was doing the choosing, and there was, all of these machinations going on. And suddenly Megan emerges from this group of heads trying to figure things out and direct and name. And she emerges from this conversation and this confab into, I am the Noel woman. And everybody in the circle, and these were, 80 people maybe, my memory serves me right. It was just like, what? Because, really up until that moment, of course, Megan had been emerging, but not in that empowered, I embody this way. So she kind of blew everybody's shutters back. And, all of the elders who were kind of focused on this elder candidate, the whiplash, what? And she stood there and she held like absolutely 100% conviction, no doubt. I am the Nawal woman. And I was remembering that the other day after watching either one of the prayers or one of the interviews or the way that you were channeling all of this now, right? And it's like, well, of course, that thread, that seed has been planted and fully developed because you know how to claim who you are. And we all receive the benefit of that. And that's, right now what I feel like is that I am receiving the benefit of you recognizing who you are and therefore continuing to ask me to show up as I am.
Mm-hmm. And as I'm remembering that moment, it's like all of the energy and all of that chaos of like receiving that message directive, and also my mind going, what? Right?
You're
right?
what?
Right. So I can also feel, and I feel that now in this time period of like feeling that directive and that energy come through me, which is what we're talking about with you right now, is like the directive is there. And then it's just the Megan or Rita having to step aside to say, yes, I am that, and I can hold this, and whatever my mind has to say about what it should look like or how it should be presented or am I ready or not ready or whatever, that really it's just that practice of saying, yeah, that part of me is going to step aside and the real moment of power is going to show up in the moment. So what time does this act of power happen? 6 o'clock our time? Yeah, so if either of you think of it, I don't know if you're planning on coming on the call, but around 8 o'clock your time, if you also just take a minute to hold that space for Rita, I think both of you can feel that like transmission of just like, all right, yeah, the grid is there on many different levels to hold us to do this.
We'll happily receive your good wishes.
So anyone else want to check in? Do you, Mira, anything you want to report? Linda, we kind of did a little bit.
I have to report that as of today, I finished my first read through of the whole book. And so the first read through, I think I mentioned, I just go through and do my best, hands behind my back, to not edit too much. And I just highlight using a color coding system to let me know what I feel like needs done. So either adding, removing, or reordering. And so that has been completely finished.
Wow.
Yay.
So I will be starting, I don't know if I'll start it tomorrow. I probably will dive right in tomorrow and just start my second read through, which will actually be the heavy lifting of moving pieces around and writing in, another scene here or there, or that sort of thing. So
wow.
I'm excited. Wanted to celebrate that.
That is huge. I know. I feel like since the time you said I'm going to actually focus on my book to like now, it's been like that.
Yeah. I know. It's great.
It's been so fast.
It's been so fast, and it's been largely effortless, with the exception of a tremendous amount of emotional processing and healing that it has really almost dragged me through in like a sort of speed healing kind of experience. Going through tremendous amounts of like years of this lifetime and going through it at my new level of consciousness, but some of those old beliefs and stumbling blocks and challenges, and then also diving into past life stuff and going deep into that and resolving that, and phobias. And Megan, it has the millipedes in it.
It does?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really funny scenes too.
They made the cut.
Yeah, Mira, is this autobiographical?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it's a memoir.
It's a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
Memoirist.
Yes.
Oh, my favorite genre.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I love that.
Yes.
Fantastic.
For a 4-year period, starting with my early kind of first initiatory experience and spiritual awakening, and then leading through all of the trials and tribulations. So it talks about the highs, but it also talks about the asshole moments. It totally throws me under the bus. There's a lot of embarrassing things, funny things, and just, but then also resolutions too, and really beautiful moments and a lot of emotions. So yeah, and it takes people all the way up into the point, which was in late 2009, where I had the full embodied memory, not only that I was fairy, but also the point at which I crossed over and made that choice to cross over from fairy to human. And that's around the point where the book ends.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
No, when did you get to read it?
When you talk about the fact that not only have you written the words,
Yeah.
but then also gone through that process, and seriously, I mean, it's been a matter of weeks from what I can track. I mean, that's incredible, just like the speed at which you're like processing all of this and getting words on paper.
And I think that's why I'm having such a, remember I said I was kind of inward and like to do anything like teaching and stuff. I mean, normally I'm like the kind of person that is like cooking 5 pans at a time and can just kind of do it. But I feel like I am bandwidth, I'm good. I'm not overtaxed, but I'm also trying to be really present with my emotional experience and use this as a hot opportunity for a deeper healing. And so in doing that, I feel like all of my attention is like front seated, and to do anything else would almost be like pulling my attention away a little bit. So but I have done 3 Facebook Lives where I've actually read scenes from my book.
Very cool.
I was really inspired to do it and nudged. And of course I had to get over my perfectionist about the scenes not being perfect. And I also had to get over the fact that some of the scenes I'm reading might actually not make the final cut, but that has to be okay. So it was, and like going back to like what Rita was talking about, the edge, the first time, I mean, I've done 100 Facebook Lives. You guys know that I've taught all the time online. The first time I was doing it, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I'm sitting reading aloud the scene from my book, and I was dripping sweat. You couldn't tell, but I was sweating. I was like, my heart was racing. I was just being really dialed into the screen, so I would make sure that I just spoke very clearly and I didn't fumble my words. It was just like, keep going, just keep speaking, keep keep reading the words, keep speaking. And I was so nervous, and I was like, oh, you're up against an edge. Okay. So yeah, and I was nervous the second time too. I did another one this morning, and I wasn't so nervous, but I was really, but the one this morning I did was less personal, whereas the other 2 were much more personal. So yeah, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I feel like I'm complete with that. I'm just all these scenes.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't it amazing too, like the quickness, like to see, I've had that experience recently of like, okay, this feels big and scary, and I do it like once, and then maybe twice it's like still a little bit that, and by the 3rd time I'm like, oh,
what was I thinking?
okay, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So dear Mary, you're so great. You're so intuitive. You asked me the question on the chat about, is this the first course I've given online? And no, it's not. Of course not. It's not. But it's the first course I'm having to sell to a group of people. The courses I've done before were all for existing students, right? Or apprentices, people that were already in journey with me. So now it's and I looked at that and I went, oh, silly girl, like yeah, there's muscle memory. So and just the what for both of what you guys shared with me, I just want you to know that I have so much love for all of you for watching this kind of interaction happen. Yeah. This little bowl and stew pot things.
Yeah, and I for me, what I love is like, I think each one of us holds each other in such esteem. It's kind of like, what, Rita feels that? What, Diamira feels that? What, Linda feels that? Megan feels that? Like, I think there's like something beautiful to see. Like, all of us are accomplished healers and coaches. So to see like you're operating at this level and you still have the like nervousness and the whatever stories going through your head, I feel like that's just been freeing, I know, for me. And it also makes me feel like, okay, like we can be messy and imperfect and also be masterpieces and show up in these ways that are our edge. Does anyone know that Marie Forleo quote? Like, she actually says something about fear. Like, when you're feeling fear, it's actually like you're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
I think
Diamira
I might
said
have talked about
something,
that.
yeah, when
Yeah.
Diamira said that, I was like, oh yeah, she says that in like a really concise way.
And this to me is like real alchemy, right? Because, you know, the lead parts of ourselves are these unfounded fears, you know, these sort of off the wall fears is the lead. And the, you know, when we add the agent that turns the lead into gold, it's this container.
Mm-hmm.
So alchemy is happening to everyone. I mean, look at
And
Linda's
so
Linda's
fast.
changes. Yeah.
So fast. Anything else, dear Mira?
No, I mean, just on a personal level, I don't know. I think some of you guys, if you talk to Rosemary, you know about the new Avalon experiment that we're doing, that we're co-creating. So on my land, which is like looks just a little over 6 acres, and it's mostly forested. When I arrived here, I knew that it was time to birth my dream of having this co-creative intentional community, except the intentional community was not about a bunch of necessarily humans living here with me. Actually, it was all realms of Gaia are welcome for the specific express purpose of learning to commune, create, and be once again with one another. And what does that look and feel like in this new earth that we are birthing together? And so it was this experiment, and that has deepened over the last couple years since Curtis and I have been here. And this has evolved to a pinnacle, if you will, when last week I was given the directive through a scroll. You know, they're so formal on the inner planes. They handed me a scroll, and I had Rosemary and a friend of mine, Chelsea, holding space for this great council meeting. And after reading all the scroll, underneath it, it said the starry dragons are arriving. The starry dragons are arriving, and this is something that's millions of years in happening, and they are arriving here on Earth. And as they do, there's this bathing, this holy anointing that's going to take place with the Earth. And the reason they're coming is because the children of Gaia, all of us, humanity, but all the realms, have reached a certain level of consciousness. And so as we have a beacon has sort of gone out to the universe, and so the starry dragons have come. And part of that was the awakening of the dragons of Gaia, which happened back in the fall. And so this, the image that I had was this beautiful image of the night sky and these dragons of Gaia, earth dragons, sitting around in a half moon circle, looking up at the stars. And one dragon was very close to me, and I looked into his eyes, and there were tears streaming down his face. And there was just this moment of holy communion that is upon us that they have been waiting for. And just as a great byproduct, we all received this great outpouring of love and blessing. And so on Sunday, we gathered, Rosemary, Chelsea, and I, and Curtis did his thing in the background, as he does in his own male way. Megan is laughing. And we gathered in the new garden sanctuary, where Curtis and I had just planted an apple tree and a few other fruit trees. And we gathered there, and we erected this star temple as a sort of landing pad in order to receive the starry dragons as they came to Earth. And so the first wave of the starry dragons came to Earth on Sunday. They're like the scouts. And then the second wave will be on summer solstice, and the third wave, I think, will be in the fall. And so it's coming in these 3 waves. So it will be interesting to see, and I think I've already seen some of this online. People have talked about, they felt an energy wave on Sunday. Those were the starry dragons. Like, maybe not everybody was keyed into what the frequency was, but those were the starry dragons that came. So that was like, that's huge. And so I just wanted to share that.
That's so beautiful. You have a beautiful like band of light right across your throat chakra.
I do.
Can you see that?
My name is covering it.
Okay. As you were speaking, I was like, oh, you're creating a dragon sanctuary.
It's a sanctuary of, it's a Gaian sanctuary.
Yeah, it was like the fairy sanctuary, the dragon sanctuary.
Yes, and
Yeah,
there's Sasquatch, and there's the little people, and the elven one. I mean, there's so many beings. There's all kinds of beings that have slowly but surely begun to gather. Some that haven't even connected with humanity for one reason or another in a long time. And so there's a lot of healing that has been happening on this land as well, fracturing that had occurred between humanity and some of these others, but also between the various inner realms. They weren't all roses and buttercups either.
Dragon Wars. That is so cool. I love that. You're like, oh, by the way.
Yeah, by the way. Just like to give you guys the news bulletin.
Anything else going on?
I think she's been brewing some teas in the background.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, no, something else is going on. She's been dissolving her fairy light. And I have to say, like, every time I get an email from you, I'm just like, go, Tamir, you're shutting down your LLC. I'm like, wow, girl, you are doing it. Like, that's like a big deal to shut down legal entities, especially because it costs money to like reopen them.
Reopen them. I know, but it just felt right because what I kept getting was that when Fairy Light was created, it has a certain energetic blueprint based on its natal chart. It has its own natal chart. And I'm like, that served it for its mission and purpose. And I feel like whatever I create moving forward needs a new natal chart. It needs a new expression and interaction with the stars. So I shan't limit it to the old star stories.
Yeah, and if any of you are ever looking to name your company, Anna Claire, the woman I interviewed the other day, she'll like do a soul plan reading for the business name. And it's fascinating because I even see like, I think when I changed, like, I think I changed it from like Megan Gilroy Coaching to Megan Gilroy LLC. And like, she can talk about the differences in the vibrations from even like little shifts like that. So to like do a whole other name, like the name, like whatever your birth name is or whatever your company's name is, it actually carries like this energetic code based on like the sound vibrations in the name. And it really astounded me like how spot on it was.
Is she doing it through numerology or through sound?
I think she does it through, I don't know, you'd have to ask her. It's some like methodology that started in like Egyptian times and was passed down to like Blue Martin, and that who's like a contemporary human, and that person like I think merged a combination of like sound and numerology, but I could be wrong on the basis of it. So yeah.
So I just want to share, Tamir, when you were talking, I slipped into a little dream. My image bank is a little different than yours, but what came forward, and it's just the beginning of something. It's just a seed. But so with this understanding that this time on Earth is the time when the most humans have reached a level of consciousness, a high level of consciousness, that piece that you started with is absolutely true. And so, hence the level of disruption that's needed in order for this level of consciousness to seed itself and root itself. And so as you were talking about your mythology around that, I skipped over here to Teo and just started to dream into what this opening is doing there with the energies and the light forces and the ancient, the ancient seeds that were planted there. What is happening in that realm. And it didn't get any further, but Megan, if you, dream into that at some point, or if we, want to do that next time we're together, You've been to Teo, Diomira?
I have not.
Okay, but Linda has Renee?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because that is occurring, in all the realms of mystery school.
Mm-hmm.
All the realms of the mystery school are being activated at this level. We might have to go check it out.
We might have to go to Teo.
Might have to go check it out.
I might
We
be willing to
stay at
hop
the
on
dreaming
over
house.
there with you too.
You go to Teo with it? Yeah, and with Rose, the three of us. I could see that.
Yeah.
And Linda, we could get her there.
I'm always up for the dreaming house for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
And
Emily
Teo
opened.
too, but
You're just happy at the dreaming house.
I think I could live at the dreaming house.
Well, now you can because they built that annex and they kind of shifted it from thinking groups were going to come there to doing it like short-term residencies. Like you can rent a place
Yeah,
and
I
have
have
3
this
meals a
reason I'm
day.
gonna write my book there.
Cool.
I want to paint my masterpiece there.
I know there's just something about it.
I want to bring my daughter there.
You like to what?
I want to bring my daughter there.
Oh yeah, that would be super cool.
Yeah.
I actually have a retreat on the calendar there on September 27th.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about starting to send out little announcements maybe in June. I don't know. It hasn't felt, I thought perhaps May, but it hasn't felt right in May yet.
Yeah.
You think you'll still run it, Rita?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I would like to go myself at least, but they're having their experience much like ours. So I think it really, how this opening up of the country really turns out. There really is going to be a second wave.
Yeah.
I would say
Can't
wait
stop
till,
it.
for some reason, like July, I keep hearing a lot of astrological, like after July, things are going to become clearer. So I'll plant that seed.
And
Maybe
there's
give it one more.
there is a ton of astrology in June.
Mm-hmm.
Eclipses.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on in June, ladies. Like, hang on to your panties.
Mm-hmm.
And Venus goes retrograde tomorrow.
Yep. 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 All right, on that happy note.
Yeah, I'm like on our very short call till 2:30.
Oof.
So anyone else need, Linda, you good? I know you had a little quick thing. If anyone needs to hop off, you can also.
I have a question that I want to ask.
Yeah.
That I don't even know why it's coming to me today. And it's a little bit outside the realm of what we usually talk about, but so I'm still figuring out my powers, right? So I had this experience a couple years ago where I belonged to this spiritual group and it's very Christian oriented, and I eventually left it because it wasn't a good fit. But I was an elder, for lack of a better word, in the group. We had a member who told a story about going to visit her grandson in prison, and the story wasn't adding up. And for a variety of reasons, we were questioning her about it. And while we're on this conference call, not Zoom, just voice, she's describing her journey from North Carolina to Michigan to visit her grandson. And I had my eyes closed as I'm listening to her. And while I'm listening to her, her grandson came to me and said, she did not come to see me. But my question about it is that what is that? So I'm sitting there with my eyes closed. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like a a chalk drawing of a young man with his back to me, and he was turned over his shoulder, speaking to me like he was angry, right? Like, and saying, that's not true. She didn't come to see me. And I can hear him talking. Like, it's not like some thought coming through. It's like actually a young Black man talking to me. What is that called? Like, what do you call that?
Clairsentience?
Yeah, and clairaudience, exactly.
Clairaudience.
Okay. Because I know that I'm clairaudient. But often when I meditate, I get pictures of people in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like a small child or a guy, like I see their faces. And I never explore it because I don't know what it means and I'm afraid to. Am I supposed to know something about them, or are they trying to tell me something? Like, should I speak to them? Like, I'm afraid because I'm like, what if this little child is like being hurt? And then I don't know where she is and I don't know how to help her. Like, I don't know what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And
so what would be your intent? Why would you want to open that channel up?
I think I'm trying to figure out if I'm supposed to open the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, are they people who need help, and am I the one who's supposed to receive their message? Or is that just all these channels that I have going on? And, you know, it's like when you're flipping channels on TV, right? Like I'm just flipping through channels and it's not necessary for me to actually interact with them.
I would say that you actually have a choice. And the choice is literally, you could choose either one. Clearly, you have an ability that you might take a little trust and a little honing and practice, but clearly there's an ability that's being presented to you that you have, that you, if you chose, you could probably nurture it and go down that path. And that could look like a number of different things. It could look anything like an intuitive reader. It could look like somebody that, if it was lost people, that there are people that help the police and stuff. So I have a friend that does that. So there's all kinds of paths if you chose. Or like what Rita is really teaching, it's how to become really aware of what's yours, what somebody else's. And if that's not yours to do in this lifetime and you don't want to, then to just learn to set up those energetic boundaries and say, you know what, like I honor you, but I'm calling on spirit to reroute you to the best person or place or opportunity that will serve you at the highest level in this moment. Mm-hmm. And then you just send them on their way in the highest way. But I feel like it's really a choice. It's a personal choice. It doesn't have to do with like, are you supposed to do it?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And Linda, that's why Megan's question is the most important question. What is your intent? What do you want? I wouldn't answer it now. I would write. I would see if something could come through while you write that maybe isn't necessarily your conscious mind. Mm-hmm. That you could ask the question, what is this for? How do I meet this? What's my purpose with this information? What's my intent here? And start there with getting tapped into the part of you that might have some direction. Because as long as you have fear right now about it, that's going to prevent you from getting a really clear direction about what it's for. But some other part of you knows a little better what it might be for.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. Like, I just felt like it was like coming and I was supposed to do something with it. And I'm like, but I don't know what to do with it. And I'm not even sure I want to do anything.
Yeah.
So you're talking about it from a channel of like your personality and your like ego self, right? You're talking about right and wrong. There's a good or bad thing. I have to or don't have to do this, as opposed to saying, okay, I hear you. You're afraid. And I'm going to ask you to step aside for a moment so I can get clear on what is infinite intent's purpose of this. And then you can come back and step up to that and say, do I accept this? Is this something I want for myself or not? And then it's not coming from that like, ooh, it's scary because I don't understand it and don't know it. You're saying, okay, I see like the intent behind this is whatever. And now I can make that choice. Do I want to support that and open myself up to that and explore it and develop it? Or like Diamira says, like when I look at Diamira, I'm like, oh, she could be operating on so many different channels, and she's listening both to like Infinite obviously gave her a message around fairies and birthing that on the earth. And when she felt inside of herself, like this is complete inside of me, it's still living within her, but my perception is she's not putting her attention on that so that she can open up the channel to like the starry dragons and the new birthing the new earth and all these other pieces. So there's like that co-creation piece of intent has information and abilities and guidance for you, and you also are syncing up with that and deciding like what feels right to you, what's part of your path, what interests you. And I have a feeling that once you like allow that Linda to kind of step aside, that you'll get the clarity on the intent piece, and then you can make that choice.
I'm not gonna lie, it's pissing me off a little bit right now that is surfacing right now in this time. Like I feel like I have enough navigating this separation, and I'm
Yep.
trying to put together this. Okay, so it's not going to be retreats. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And
but see the intent behind that, because right now you created a crack in your world. And you said, okay, I'm breaking all these old structures because I want something new to come through me. And intent is like, ooh, okay, the channel's available now, because before you were so preoccupied and I have to take care of my husband and my business needs to look like this and I got to keep this going on. And like the crack is saying like, oh, of course, something new and deeper and more potent, it wants to emerge. And it's like, I finally have that chance to do it. So of course it's going to show up right now. Right. And you also have that ability. I feel like that was something I had to learn, is like to be in a conversation with that aspect of myself, to be able to say, you know what, today I'm totally on overload. Like I need to dial this down. I don't have to, like my naturopath sometimes says that to me. Like he'll be like, okay, you can take those herbal essences or floral essences, but just know that you're choosing to like accelerate what you're doing. Right. And so sometimes I may be like, oh, I don't want to turn it up. I don't want to press the pedal all the way. And like you said, you could say, you know what, guys, I'm resting for 3 days. So everybody and all the channels just go away. I need some human rest time here. And then it's still going to be available to you and you can still open that back up. So you have that level of control of saying like
so
yes and no.
helpful, because I don't have anyone besides you guys really to talk about that stuff with. I don't have anyone guiding me. And so it didn't even occur to me that there were choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a lot of times
like,
when people
or negotiations or whatever, like
it's
I felt like it just comes.
No.
And then I have to do something with it.
No, so I know a lot of times when people have come to me and say they start like the medium channel opens where they're channeling dead people and it really freaks them out and it's overwhelming. I'm like, set up office hours. Tell them, you know, like during the night you are closed, you need your sleep and you're not available. And if they want to come, you're setting aside this time for them to like open that channel. And you can do the same thing. Like you can say it's a couple days or it's an hour or whatever you need to be able to like let your human, you also have to respect like your human is completely like rewiring itself on so many levels. So if you're saying, hey, I haven't slept and I just moved and this is a little too much right now, then just say, I hear you and I'm so grateful for this channel to be there, and right now I'm going to rest so I can be in a better place to even receive or work with this.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love what Megan just said about the office hours, because that reminds me, like,
beautiful.
That's what I like, you know, a taxi cab driver puts up the sign. That's literally what I do like, especially I've been writing this book, the only beings that are allowed to come in are like the 3 or 4 that specifically have to do with this story. All others, like, they get that taxi cab sign and it says currently offline and unavailable. And I literally set up a waiting room for them and tell them that they can be in the waiting room until further notice. And that's it. And so, yeah, I love
that, because that's exactly what I needed was like, okay, how do I navigate this? That's awesome. I'm so glad I asked, because I'm like, I don't know why this is coming up today and why I feel like I need to ask it. So thank you for hanging out.
So did you ever read that book? I think I recommended it to you at one point. It's called, I'll go look up the exact name. It's like called Voices Beyond the Couch. It's by John Meyerson, who's like another shaman I work with.
I don't remember that book, which
doesn't
mean you didn't recommend it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it, because you'll be fascinated, because he really talks about the difference between being a feeler and a seer. But then he goes through like 10 different ways that people connect to power, and he really eloquently describes like, what does it mean if you're like a light worker versus you're possessed, you do like possessions and extortions, versus you use like Aphrodite energy, versus you're a medium, versus you're a like.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he really like, for me, it was like one of those like aha moments, because as you know, I like studied with Miguel, but he always talked about being a Nawal. And so when John Meyerson was talking about what it means to be a shaman, I was like, oh, when I had some words to articulate the different ways like my power comes through me, it just really helped me like own it and accept it in a way, because I'm like, here's someone who's like describing what I do in words that are very commonsensical. And I was able to then like accept and hone that talent more, because I had a way of like wrapping my head around it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll send you a little.
My rest days.
Yeah.
You posted in the book? I mean,
yeah, I will.
That sounds really good.
It's a little tiny book, but I go back all the time and look up little pieces in it, because it just has like really good gems in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So Linda, I just want to talk to you for 5 seconds about Renee, just to make sure she's set up for the Master Heart. And D'Amelia, welcome to hang out. But I also know we said we were going to do a short call, and it wasn't exactly that. So.
Yeah, I'm going to hop off. I love you guys, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds good.
Bye,
okay. Bye. Love you. So I just wanted to check in and make sure you feel like, here we go.